Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. And we're going to start with the land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of Caldwell First Nation, of the Three Fires Confederacy, and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island, and its surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island, and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. We will now have a moment of silent reflection, followed by the playing of our national anthem. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Okay, if we can get an adoption of the agenda for June 25th, 2024. Councillor Richo-Spagnuolo and Councillor Carrick, all in favor? That carries. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? There being none, if we can get an adoption of the minutes from our closed meeting of council and regular meeting of council held May 28th, 2024. Councillor Renaud and Councillor Desjardins, all in favor? That carries. Mayor's comments, there's just a few. Councillor Burns is away on personal business. The Vollmer Centre will be closed Thursday, June 27th for our annual staff training to review emergency procedures, as well. It's an important part of staff orientation for new employees. It gives seasoned staff the chance to review and give feedback on departmental procedures. Our outdoor pool opens this Sunday, which is on Front Road at Laurier Drive. Free recreational swimming daily from 2 to 4 p.m. sponsored by Essex Power Lines. And registration is recommended and can be completed online. LaSalle Night Market is this Sunday, June 30th, held here at the Civic Center from 4 to 8 p.m. And this weekend we have 80 plus vendors, food and entertainment. Our municipal office and Vollmer Centre will be closed Monday, July 1st for Canada Day. And summer activities begin on Monday, July 2nd, including indoor drop-in pickleball at the Event Center. Visit our website and social media for a schedule of open sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays throughout the summer. And finally, we have to congratulate Florida on the win last night. I know, it hurts many of us. As much as we wanted the Stanley Cup home here in Canada, I do want to congratulate Paul Maurice, who actually lived in the area for a while, as well. His wife is from the town of LaSalle, was a teacher over at Villanova. So maybe we'll be fortunate enough that they'll bring that Stanley Cup here to LaSalle for a visit, as well as Aaron Eckwald, who's from Lakeshore area. So congratulations to them on winning the Stanley Cup. And that's all I have for Mayor's comments. We have no public meetings and or hearings, and we'll go right into our presentations and delegations, which is the LaSalle Fire Service Long Service Award recognition. And we're going to have our Fire Chief, Ed Thiessen, and Deputy Fire Chief Mark Segan to come up and present the awards.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of Council. Today I have the privilege of sharing some well-deserved acknowledgement or recognition for 3 of our firefighters, in particular for their years of service. Today we have one firefighter, Randy Curtis, who is 30 years of service, and his medal is actually from the federal government. And we have Fire Prevention Officer and Captain Mike Wiley with 20 years, and firefighter Jason Shinkar also with 20 years. The 20-year medals are from the province. The medals are shipped with us, or to us, with a description, and I would just like to read that for the audience. The Fire Service Exemplary Service Medal honors members of a recognized Canadian fire service who have completed 20 years of service, 10 years of which have been served in the performance of duties involving potential risks. Exemplary service is characterized by good conduct, industry, and efficiency. The medal is suspended from a ribbon of 5 equal stripes, 2 gold and 3 red. In addition, a bar bearing a stylized maple leaf may be awarded to a recipient of the medal for each additional 10-year period of service. So if I could call up Fire Prevention Officer and Captain Mike Wiley, Firefighter Randy Curtis, and Jason Shinkar, please.
So again, we just want to really congratulate everyone. I mean, 20 and 30 years of service in the town of LaSalle is certainly something to celebrate, especially when many of us know them for maybe 20 or 30 years. So congratulations to everyone. I'm glad we were able to get so many people out today to take that nice picture of the group, especially all dressed up and fancy. Okay, we can move on to our staff reports and correspondence for council's action. Our first one is the council compensation policy, and I'm going to turn that over to our deputy clerk, Linda Jean.
Oh, there we go. Thanks. So I'm here to talk to you about the draft compensation policy. And for some history, I just want you to know that council first adopted a council compensation and travel policy in 2017, and that outlined conference and travel reimbursement and compensation for attending special meetings, all in the same policy. In time and with use, we realized this caused some confusion for both administration and council, and so it was decided that it would be better to clarify and have better understanding, and this policy was then divided into two different policies for us to use. The first policy was adopted in May 2023, and that is the Conference, Training, and Travel Expense Reimbursement Policy. It's a mouthful, but, and I believe council is familiar with this as we've been using this for quite some time, and I did attach that to the report as Schedule A for you to have some reference. The second is a council compensation policy, which is before you today and attached as Schedule B. And the intent of the council compensation policy has not changed, but the language has been modernized to provide some clarity. Some of the provisions are outlined in the report, but to highlight a few things, specifically the definition of a special meeting has been clarified as a meeting scheduled by the town outside of the regular meeting schedule, such as orientation, budget, such as a strat plan meetings, things like that. It identifies the meaning of base salary, which means attendance at regular meetings and time spent carrying out the duties of office. Clearly identifies stipend amounts, being $100 for half day and $200 for a full day. In the event of a base salary increase for council, this will mirror that given to the non-union group. So, for example, when the non-union group gets a certain percentage increase, council will automatically receive the same. And it identifies the benefits provided to council, including a mobile phone, tablet, laptop, health benefits, etc. So overall, the stipend amounts nor the benefits have been changed, and there's no financial implications. Just a little bit more clarity in the language and the wording for the policy, and I'm available for questions if you have any.
Council, any questions? Nope, I think it's pretty straightforward. So we have a recommendation that the report of the deputy clerk dated May 29th, 2024 be received and that the council compensation policy be adopted as presented. Councillor Carrick and Councillor Richo-Spagnuolo, all in favor? And that carries. Item 2, County Road 8, Bridge over River Canard. I'll turn it over to our deputy CAO, Mr. Mara.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As noted, the report before you tonight is regarding the County Road 8 bridge over River Canard in front of St. Joseph's Church. That is located on the border of LaSalle and Amherstburg. It's referred to as the Bowstring Bridge. It is owned and operated by the County of Essex. It is a significant historical site there, with that bridge being constructed in 1937 of a particular design of the day, and has stood as a landmark in that area for over 87 years. That bridge was a very important component to the growth and enhancement of trade and economic growth of the area for many years. Through this report, what the county is looking to do at this particular bridge location is make that a heritage site through the Ontario Heritage Trust. And so they are looking to submit an application by July 31st of this year. If they are successful in getting that designation, what the county is also looking at doing is installing two bilingual plaques at that location, recognizing the significance of that bridge. So The request before you tonight is first and foremost that council receive the report, but also that council contribute $3,000 towards these plaques. In total, these plaques are costing approximately $16,000, and they are looking for a contribution of $3,000 from the town of LaSalle, as well as Amherstburg will be looking to contribute the same $3,000 amount. This is before you tonight because this was an unbudgeted item, but within the confines of that $3,000, that contribution is well suited to come from the strategic plan budget. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. And before I go to questions, just kind of, in case anyone wasn't aware, it was actually myself who brought this forward at County Council, which is why it's coming back to us now. I was contacted by residents in the area who really felt it was important that we recognize such an important piece of history. And at the time, the mayor of Amherstburg was very interested in doing the same and was willing to work with us on this. So this has been going on for probably a good 8 months, trying to get to this point. We were hoping to receive some grants for this type of thing, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like we're going to be successful, which is why we're getting this report today. So, Councillor Reno?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had a quick question. Is there any, where the sign is going to go, is there any kind of land dedication that we need to make to the county or anything like that, or will it be going right on the bridge? Just wonder if there's any other implications.
At this time, I don't have those particular details, whether they'll be attached directly to the bridge or whether they'll be located within vicinity of the bridge. Most of the right-of-ways owned out there are owned by the County of Essex already. I don't believe there is any requirement for any land from the town of LaSalle.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Desjardins?
Thank you. I was just going to comment, I found it a very interesting history lesson, and I didn't have any idea that that kind of a bridge had a name. And I'm in full support of doing this. I think that if we don't start doing things like this, I think we're going to lose some of our heritage. We're going to lose some of our history because a lot of our seniors who tell the stories and let us know what went on in the community for the last however many years are not available. And I think by acknowledging the bridge on both sides, Amherstburg, LaSalle, English, and French, I think that's a good thing, and I would support the motion.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Reno?
I'd be happy to move the motion.
Moved and support? Councillor Deputy Mayor Akapada. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. Item 3, the National Urban Park Progress Update, LaSalle Lands. Back to our Deputy CAO, Mr. Mara.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tonight's report is before you in response to a council question regarding providing an update on the National Urban Park process. So as council is aware, there are two specific processes proceeding simultaneously and concurrently for the National Urban Park in the area. The first item is the private members bill put forward by a member of Parliament, Brian Massey. That is a very specific location identified by coordinates, and that is solely and wholly located within the city of Windsor. It has really no jurisdiction effect on LaSalle. It has no lands contained within LaSalle's jurisdictional boundaries. So that is a process that is currently underway. It has been through a number of processes through the federal government. It is currently within the Senate, going through the legislative process within the Senate. So what we understand with that process is if and when that bill passes, those lands identified by the coordinates that creates that polygon shape do become in fact a national urban park, and they are designated such as a national urban park under the Parks Canada Act. With that, once that occurs, what we also understand is that the federal government will then reach out to the landowners of those particular parcels of land and work out agreements with respect to how the lands and that gets managed and maintained and things of that nature. So it's a process that's going on. It really has no jurisdictional effect or boundaries within the town of LaSalle. At this point, there is really not much more to talk about that particular process. The second process that's going on is what is referred to as the policy-driven process. As council is aware, we had put forward lands through council's direction to be part of that policy-driven process. And those lands are included within this process. They include also additional lands within the City of Windsor, which also includes the lands identified within the private members bill. So it's a lot larger than what's identified in the private members bill. So this process is a partner, it's driven by a partner committee. So Ms. Beggs and myself are representing the town of LaSalle. As part of that partner committee, there's also representatives from the City of Windsor, Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of the Environment of Ontario, Parks Canada, Hydro One, and a number of First Nations. So they are working through what we are working through that process, and we continue to work through that process, is what lands do become National Urban Park above and beyond what might be identified as the private members bill, and then how do we manage those parcels. So it's what they refer to as a co-governance agreement. So the whole intention through this process is once we get to an identification of a point in time, we would be back before council to identify what a co-governance agreement looks like and what that is. And it does, the town of LaSalle does council still wish to continue to allow the lands that we put forward to become National Urban Park. And things that are going to be covered within a co-agreement, there are 9 items listed in my report. They're just a small number of items. There's a lot more than just those 9 items. But how does the lands and who owns the lands? How do they get maintained? How can we access them? Some of the lands that are put forward from the town of LaSalle are part of our park system. So people currently enjoy them the way they do today. Can they still continue to enjoy them the way they do today in the future when it becomes National Urban Park? And how does it get maintained? We do have infrastructure that runs through those lands, so how do we maintain and access that infrastructure? So all of that stuff becomes part of what a co-governance agreement will look like and how the management happens and things of that nature. So it's always been identified that once we get to that point, Ms. Beggs and myself will be in a position to come back to council and give you that information to continue to make that decision on, do we continue with this process and how does that work? As I noted, that committee has been meeting for over 18 months now. We are continuing to move forward through the process. It was a little slow going, but we are now working through a number of situations where there's working on visioning for development of a vision for the National Urban Park and the various elements of what may go into co-governance and things of that nature. So we believe that this report has provided council with the information. So the first recommendation as part of this report is to receive it. And then there's a second part of a recommendation that we're looking for council's direction on. So the first part of the first recommendation, part A, would be that council endorse and concur that Ms. Beggs and I continue to be part of the urban park policy-driven process. That gives us a voice at the table. We continue to be able to put our input into the co-governance, and then at some point in time in the future, when we do know more information, we can come back before council, give you the information, and then make the final decision on what lands are part of it. The other option B, as part of the recommendation, is that we just put that involvement on hold and let the process continue. And once we know what that co-governance is, we can come back and sort it out and figure out, does LaSalle continue to want to explore that option? But that does not give us a voice at the table at the time. So there is pros and cons to both aspects. We have reviewed this internally. Again, the National Urban Park policy process has had a number of public information meetings. There's a lot of information on the website regarding that. From a financial implication, at this time, there really isn't any financial implications. Besides the time that Ms. Beggs and I spend, that's part of our operational budget, but we haven't put forward any significant financial investment. So with that, I'm looking for council's direction on how they wish for town administration to proceed with the National Urban Park process.
Thank you. Councillor Carrick.
So thank you. So I believe I brought this up when we had a visit from Brian Massey at my place of work. So thanks for the report's excellent. It clears up a lot, and where the distinction is in what the private members bill is versus what we're dealing with. So I think it's prudent for us to go through all the steps, and since we are outside the scope of the private members bill, and I think that it's important that we do the right things and follow the steps and follow the recommendations, and you said there's more, and we've been through this and going back and forth with lands, but ideally, I'd love to have the lands protected, so they're protected forever. So if that's a possibility somewhere down the road, I think that's awesome, for whatever we think we can put into this area. Having said that, I definitely think, I'm not sure how the rest of the council feels, but I'm pretty sure, that we'd like you guys to still have a seat at the table as we move forward, so that we can be kept in the loop and you guys can have your input, and hopefully they'll listen to us. Thank you.
Councilor Reno?
Thank you, Your Worship. My comments are going to be very similar in the way that, through this whole 18-month process, you read some things in the Windsor Star, you hear some things here and there, you read some opinions online. But through this entire process, it's been very comforting to me to know that we have two of our professionals that are at the table and on the team that are figuring this out. And I think that is invaluable. That we should continue. I agree with Councillor Carrick. We should definitely continue in that process. I hope you don't miss too many dinners over it or family time. However, I do really think this is very important to the town and to its residents. So I would like to put forward the motion that we receive the information, which was a very well-written report, and that we move forward with our professionals staying at the table.
Any other comments? And I agree with all council as of this point. I think we need to be part of that policy-driven process, because if we're not, they're going to create a co-governance that might not work in favor of the town of LaSalle, and we want to make sure our voice is being heard. So with that, I'm going to assume we're receiving, and we're going to go with the first option. That was, do we want the same wording that's on here, or? Okay. Peter, can we just use the wording here?
Correct. Administration continues with the policy-driven process, yes.
Okay. So we had a mover, Councillor Reno, support, Councillor Desjardins, all in favor, and that carries. Thank you. Item 4, extension of our draft plan approval for Creekside condos, and that's our Manager of Planning and Development, Christina Bursick.
Thank you and good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of council. Before you up on the screen is an aerial image showing the location of the subject lands, and that is address 5865 Ellis. The property is located just to the east of where we are right now at Town Hall, and just south of the Zayres grocery store. The application that's been received is a request for an extension of draft plan approval for the draft plan approval of the condominiums for Creekside condos. That's under County File 37 CD 20005, and it's specifically for Building C. Again, that's the building that's highlighted up on the screen. And I'll just change the screen here to show you that that is the draft plan that's been approved, and outlined is specifically the lands for Building C. And again, that is a building that's currently up and constructed. The condominium was granted approval by the County of Essex on July 22nd, 2021, and it's set to expire on July 22nd, 2024. So that date is quickly approaching, which is why the applicant has proceeded to request an extension. Specifically, the extension was requested to acquire additional time to finalize the condominium declaration before proceeding with the registration. So specifically, a 3-year extension would grant the expiry to July 22nd of 2027. Administration does not have any concerns with the request. And with that, I'll go to the recommendation that my report be received and that council pass a resolution of support of the County of Essex to grant the 3-year extension, as well as that a copy of this report and the supporting resolution be sent to the Manager of Planning Services to the County of Essex. And I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Councillor Reno?
Just a quick question. I mean, everything seems straightforward. I'm just curious, what happens if we didn't? If we chose not to extend it, what happens to that building? Does that mean that it stays as a rental forever? What are the ramifications of not passing this tonight?
Certainly through you, Mayor. From my understanding, what would happen is, of course, the building exists. Currently, it's being rented. It will continue to be rented. Individual units wouldn't be able to be sold until final approval for condominium is achieved. And my understanding is that due to expiry, they would have to just go through that process with the county and with the town again, the application process. There's obviously the drawings and whatnot wouldn't change. So again, my understanding is just a reapplication process.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Recommendations of the report by the Manager of Planning Development, PD 22-2024, entitled Extension of Draft Plan Approval for Creekside Condos, County File Number 37 CD 20005, Building C, dated June 5th, 2024, be received, and that Council pass a resolution in support of the County of Essex to grant a 3-year extension of the draft plan approval for Building C of Creekside Condos from the current date of expiry being July 22nd, 2024, and that a copy of this report and the supporting resolution be sent to the Manager of Planning Services for the Corporation of the County of Essex. Councillor Carrick, Councillor Gisarle, all in favor? That carries. Our consent agenda has item 1, the Shepherd's Drain minor improvement termination of project, the 2023 building division activity, and 6 items of correspondence, as well as a summary reports to council. Are there any items we would like to pull up and discuss individually? Councillor Regis Spagnolo?
Thank you. I just wanted to get a little bit more information on the, where was it, the one that I wanted? The infrastructure funding for small rural municipalities. I don't know if anyone has information on that.
Okay, so what we're going to do, you want to pull out, we'll pull out correspondence. If we can approve item 1, 2, and 4 first. Councillor Regis Spagnolo and Councillor Reno, all in favor? That carries, so we're just going to focus on correspondence, and we're going to look at item C, Township of Georgian Bay Sustainable Infrastructure Funding for Small Rural Municipalities. That's the right one? Okay. And maybe Mr. Osborne, I don't know if you have something to add to that?
I looked through your mayor, or your worship. I looked through that one as well, and it looks like it's specifically talking about smaller municipalities, more or less saying that they don't have enough money to replace their infrastructure appropriately. I don't see why we would disagree with any of that, but I think we're in a bit of a different position.
If you want to look for it, I have a question on another item, then we can go back. Okay, so the one that I wanted to take out was item E, which is the Toronto Zoo lack of regulations regarding exotic animals. I'm hoping that council will support and forward that resolution to, and there's a whole list, if I can find that email. So the resolution be forwarded to all municipalities in Ontario of support, and that each endorsement, which would be ours, be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Ontario Solicitor General, Ontario Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, and MPP Liardi, as well as AMO, AMCTO, and MLEAO. And that would be, I don't know if anyone's had a chance to really read it. It's more or less saying that at this time, we actually don't have a policy or any really bylaws regarding exotic animals in our communities. So they're asking for the province to actually create something so that it's not just pop-up zoos and people having exotic animals in homes that it's not safe to do so. So this is just asking that the province look into it and create an actual policy to protect those animals. So I'm just looking for support. Counselor Carrick? Do you have a question, Counselor Reno?
No, just a comment. I mean, in general, whenever one community does something over another, I mean, I know that when my kids were young, there was a cute little exotic animal called a degu that we could buy in LaSalle or Bell River, but you couldn't get it in the city of Windsor. I do agree that there should be a general policy across the province so that you're not pitting one community against each other. So I will support Councillor Carrick's motion.
Thank you. And that, like I said, that did come from Toronto Zoo, and I did email them just to get clarification on it because I wanted to make sure I understood it before I brought it forward for what type of support they were looking for. And it's really just to protect a lot of what we're seeing more or less is temporary pop-up zoos coming into place and people housing dangerous animals in small communities. So that's their goal, is to put something in place to protect people as well as the animals. So with that, we have a mover and seconder. All in favor? Opposed? No. And Councillor Rucha Spagnolo, did you have, you can't find your question? Oh. It was, okay. So if we can receive now item A, B, C, D, and F. Receive, Councillor Carrick, Councillor Reno, all in favor? And that carries. Committee matters. Item 1 was our Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting held March 20th, 2024. Does our chair have anything to add?
Thank you. No, at that meeting, we had the fire chief, and they did an explanation of the new fire hall, and it was very well done. It was a great presentation. Nothing to add. The committee seemed to enjoy the presentation, and there was nothing else to add to that.
Okay. If we can get a motion to receive the minutes of the Accessibility Advisory Committee and Committee Matters dated March 20th, 2024. Councillor Desjardins, Councillor Reno, all in favor? That carries. Item 2, Essex County Council highlights for May 15th and June 5th. I don't have anything specific to add. Deputy Mayor, anything? No? If we can get a motion to receive, or if anyone has any questions or comments first? No? Motion to receive? Councillor Desjardins, Deputy Mayor Capata, all in favor? That carries. Questions and statements by council members? Deputy Mayor Capata.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, I have a number of questions. As summer times come, it's Phragmites time again, that PF word that seems to always linger around here. One of the things that I've been made aware of, Your Worship, is that there is an experimental project that's going on through the University of Toronto, whereby a moth, a larva is bred that's eating the Phragmites. It is a non-invasive species. It doesn't do anything, doesn't hurt anything, and I brought this up at IRCA. I inquired, and IRCA is more than willing to work with any municipality in our area that's interested in exploring what needs to happen to deal with our Phragmites. So I'm looking to maybe Mr. Marr to see if it's him or Mr. The gentleman beside him, I blank out as I'm looking at him, Mr. Osborne, to see if I could request that one of these two gentlemen contact IRCA. One of the requirements that I received from IRCA was an area that's accessible to the University of Toronto. I have a 6-acre area that a resident has says, if you can get rid of the Phragmites, it doesn't matter. They've guaranteed the appropriate people access, but it can only go through the municipality to IRCA.
Yes, I'm sure we could, we have heard of that program that they're working on, and I'm sure we could touch base with IRCA to let them know there's a property owner interested.
Supplemental, Your Worship, again on Phragmites, the province has released a grant, $16 million grant on invasive species, and the resident is just inquiring where we stand and are we aware of the grant, and I believe it's going to be Mr. Osborne again.
Yes, we've heard of that grant. If that's the question, yeah, we've heard of that one.
I can add a little bit here. We did recently apply under that grant for approximately $4,000. It was a 1-to-1 match ratio for this grant. So I did work with Mark Baggs to see what we could allocate, mostly coming through our summer students in in-kind contribution. The deadline was at the end of May, and we're expecting to hear back by the end of June.
Well, thank you both. Again, I have a resident who's very interested in working with the municipality to eliminate some of the Phragmites on the 6 acres of land that the family owns. So we've got, if we don't have a spot that's municipally owned, we have a spot where a resident is interested in being the example to try to assist the province of Ontario in removing Phragmites. One last one, Your Worship, and I'm not sure if it's Mr. Osborne again, but I do remember him as I'm looking at him right now. I received some correspondence from the Ontario Federation of Anglers about invasive species in the lake. They have free signs that they'd like to post up at various spots. I was by the boat ramp, and again, not wanting to direct, I understand that a sign may fit there if it's appropriate, and if that is the case, I'd like to direct the person who has the signs done that are posted in other County of Essex municipalities to the appropriate staff members so they can have the discussion to see if it fits with something that we'd want to do in this area.
Yes. We could definitely, I'm sure we could accommodate that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Councillor Regis Spagnola.
Thank you. Through, I believe, Mr. Osborne, there was a communication that was sent out today through social media regarding the renovations of the playground equipment. I did receive a few calls and messages regarding that. They're just wondering why the timing has to be during the summer when students and kids will be out using the parks as opposed to the springtime when they're in school. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and it kind of comes down to a lot of different construction things are in the summer, and that's just where we fell into their schedule. We try to get it as early as we can in the season, but that's just where it fell, and it's not really winter work, so it's going to be at some point in the time of the year when people might be using it, unfortunately.
Just another follow-up question. In our neighborhood where our park is, as well as some other parks, I do notice that sometimes the picnic tables are flipped over. Obviously, some kids, might be being silly out on the playground. However, is there a way to keep these picnic tables grounded without using a cement pad or anything like nailing them down so then these aren't being shoved all over through the area?
Depending on where the picnic tables are, which park it is, a lot of the picnic tables we move around all the time around town. If there's an opportunity for permanent ones, we can look at that, but typically we like to be able to move them around, so that comes with maybe some of the moving around by others too, but yeah.
Any other? Councillor Reno.
I would like to also pick on Mr. Osborne, as we all have tonight, and we can tease you for having your two word answers tonight. But the fact of the matter is that I contacted Mr. Osborne this morning for a resident that called me in a panic at 9 o'clock last night, and I want to let you know that your words helped him and reassured him that the process is underway, and he would like to personally thank you. So thank you for all your words in the email that calmed him down.
You're welcome, but I'll say that was mostly our staff, our engineering staff that really did all the work, so I was just passing along the information.
Any other questions, statements? I have one. I just wanted to extend our thoughts and prayers to the family affected by the terrible tragedy in Harrow, as well as the Harrow community. And that's on behalf of, obviously, administration, council, and the residents of the town of LaSalle. It's a terrible tragedy, and it's not only affected Harrow, it has affected everyone in Windsor-Essex, as they seem to have touched the lives of many throughout our area. So we are sending our thoughts and prayers to them, and just reminding people at this time, if you ever need help or assistance, to please reach out. With that, we'll move to our notices of motion. We don't have a closed session to report, so we have bylaws, and it is recommended that the following bylaws be given a third reading and finally passed. And that is bylaw 8873, a bylaw to provide for the minor improvement of the Lafferty Drain in the town of LaSalle in the county of Essex. 8889, a bylaw to provide for the minor improvement of the Framboise Drain in the town of LaSalle in the county of Essex. And 8891, a bylaw to provide for the minor improvement of the fourth concession drain in the town of LaSalle in the county of Essex. Moved, Councillor Reynolds, support Councillor Desjardins, all in favor, and that carries. And our confirmatory bylaw, it's recommended the confirmatory bylaw 8895 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed. Councilor Richo Spagnolo, Councilor Carrick, all in favor? That carries. The schedule of meetings are listed below. Thank you very much. Enjoy the weekend, use the pool, stop by the night market, and enjoy Canada Day. Thank you.